Hey folks, Danny Vaness here, and I am really bored and decided to comment on the comments of my more controversial videos on YouTube. Try saying that really fast. There's only 3 specific ones I want to talk about today, because these all have over 1,000 views, but also I'm factoring in the like to dislike ratio and the what the comments are saying. Like, it's kind of a mixed bag of either people being mixed about it, people hating on it, or people liking it, whatever. So I'll go ahead and start with the first one. Okay, before I start, I should say that having over 1,000 views for my channel is actually a pretty big achievement. So we'll start things off with my video, Wii Ultra Wireless Sensor Bar Accessories Review Wii U DGS. Again, say that really fast. This was part of my, sort of sub-series of Dang It Show videos, which is what DGS means. And I was using Git's voice, who talks like this, that my character Git, and I was using him for the accessories reviews. Just a quick little thing is that there wasn't meant to just be 2 of these. This was Dang It Show was my original review show, and just I was gonna have a sub series of these, like, involving the Dang It Show, and so like there wasn't originally just supposed to be 2 of these, but my first one, which is this one, it it was quite controversial, and it has like 15 likes and like 20 something dislikes. So people loved it, of course. But when I made it, I didn't have all the information in the world. I was just trying to hate on this product that I didn't have a good time with. But we'll see what people say in the comments. And before I actually get to the comments or show off the comments, please don't go after these people. Like, don't dox these people. Don't, whatever. Because if you see their names and stuff, I mean, it's, my YouTube comments are public. So, like, I allow it to be public, and I allow people to say whatever they want to in the comments. It's just, don't go after these people, whether you agree or disagree with them or whatever. Just please, please don't dox these people. Even if you support me and there's a hater or whatever, quote unquote hater, just they're just saying how they feel. Don't go after them, please. I liked it. How dare you say that to me? I know this person. I can't really remember if they said that about the product, whether real or sarcastic, or if they're talking about the video. Yeah, not all of these are going to be bad. I got one and immediately traded it for a friend's regular sensor bar. Yeah. I think he made the right call there. See, this product, it was advertised as being a wireless sensor bar. And of course, it came with batteries and stuff, and that's understandable. You had to hook it up by having the wire anyway, which I explained in the video as Git. But when it becomes wireless, it doesn't work as well, and the batteries seem to like drain really fast, at least from my experience. So yeah, I think you made the right call there. It's a officially licensed Nintendo product. It's not made by Nintendo. It's made by Power A. Excuse me, person. Did you not realize that it's illegal now to point out actual facts and correct somebody? Yeah, I did learn afterwards, mainly by this comment, that it wasn't actually made by Nintendo. It was an official Nintendo product, which is why I said it was made by Nintendo, because like it came in like a regular Nintendo. It didn't look like a third-party thing. It looked like an official Nintendo thing. But it was apparently made by Power A. How involved they are with just Nintendo, I don't know, but I feel like I should have done more research before making, saying that, basically. I didn't know Kermit the Frog had a YouTube channel.
Well, I don't know why I'm not calling it Kermit the Frog, but yeah, this is my channel here.
Yeah, when I made the voice of Git, I was kind of inspired by like Kermit the Frog and some of these people. Like
I've heard people in person talking like this. It's just a regular voice,
and it's just I just, yeah. By the way, I do like your name, Steve Harvey, without his mustache. There's some interesting names here. So that got a laugh out of me. Yeah, that's your opinion. Now, just what do you mean by that? I mean, this person's telling the truth. It was my opinion. Yeah, I guess that's the end of that. So, hopefully you didn't mean it in a mean way. I have the same thing, but it doesn't have a wire port, and I don't know how to connect it to my Wii U. Well, that sucks. Now, given that at this point in time, this comment is like 2 years old, you've probably already figured it out by now, but I was about to say that you could probably just take a regular wired sensor bar and just use the wire and connect it, but then I thought, wait a minute, it's like connected to the sensor bar, and if you take it out, you broke it. So yeah, so that won't work. But since this is like 2 years old, possibly almost 3 years old, you probably already figured it out by now. And you may have already figured out that it's probably not worth having, because like I said in my video, it feels like it only works if you have the wire in, but then that kind of defeats the purpose of having it be wireless. Basically, I didn't like this product, is where I was getting at. I probably didn't make the best review on it, but I didn't really like this product. I didn't think it worked as well as it should have. So this one didn't really have any comments that were just super controversial and just like calling me stupid for thinking this way. Rather, it was more so in the like to dislike ratio, in terms of controversy. But I feel like there were more comments before. Like there was someone who said something like I sound like Big Bird, even though and maybe I'm thinking of a different video, but they got the wrong Muppet. But anyway, yeah, so that was that video's comments. The next video I'll be talking about is how to be a modern Sonic the Hedgehog hater, which I made kind of at the peak of like, or near the peak of like, people hating on Sonic, anything Sonic after the Genesis days, basically. I did make this kind of out of spite for, people who overly hated on anything Sonic after the Genesis days. But I also thought it'd be a funny video to make for Sonic's 25th anniversary, which has actually came out a week before the day it actually turned 25. Thankfully, it has gotten better. Like, there's still people hating on anything post-Genesis Sonic, but it's gotten better, and you don't hear it nearly as much as you did back in whenever I was making this video. Angry face. That's the end of that. And then the same person commented, I hate this video. And then some other YouTuber went and commented on both of them saying, okay. Well, I mean, you don't have to write a whole essay explaining why you hate this video. You could just come right out and say, I hate this video. In some cases, it might need a little more context, but, you can be blunt. You can say whatever you want to on here, as long as it's nothing that can actually get you kicked off of YouTube or anything. But, yeah, I mean, points to them for being blunt. Am I the only one who thinks that Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 are the best in the Sonic series? Well, my favorite is Generations, but I like them as well. Well, back in the day it would have felt like that, but today it's definitely far from true. Of course, by that I mean you're definitely not the only one who thinks that Sonic Adventures 1 and 2 are the best in the Sonic series. I'm one of those that thinks they are some of the best in the Sonic series, and I also really like Generations. But I understand that back in the day, with all the hate on everything post-Genesis, that you would think that, you're the only one who likes these, like Sonic Adventure games and Generations and all that. But even to this day, I still get people asking, even the ones who support a lot of the modern Sonic games, ask me, why do you like Shadow the Hedgehog, the game? And, because I unironically like that game. It's not my favorite. It's far from being my favorite Sonic game, but I still really enjoy it. In short bursts now, but I still enjoy playing it time to time, and I still get people asking why. So I know what it's like to feel alone in these situations. I used to be a modern Sonic hater mainly because of how its aspects stereotypically differ from how they were in the classic era, but I hated Sonic 06, Sonic Free Riders, Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood, Sonic and the Secret Rings, and the Archie Sonic comics of the third millennium with a burning passion, due to their broken gameplay, sexist stereotypes, and furry teen romance. Well, okay, I'll just start with this. I respect your opinion. I understand where you're coming from. And you're obviously not the only one who hates a lot of these games that you pointed out. The one that kind of caught me off guard, though, was pointing out the Archie Sonic comics of the third millennium, is what you said. I'm assuming that's like the later ones or something. Yeah, that one kind of caught me off guard. Now, I haven't read nearly as many of the Archie comics. I haven't really even read any of the IDW comics, but just counting the Archie comics, there's so many of those. I may make a video talking about why I don't really collect comics. I have some comics, but, there's way too many of those. But anyway, my point is, I haven't read too many of them. I don't know about the sexist stereotypes, but I can see the furry teen romance thing. There's stuff like that in other things, but I understand it happens in some of these Archie Sonic comics. As for the games, the only ones I really have that I still play time to time, like on rare occasions, is Sonic 06 and Sonic and the Secret Rings. Sonic 06 was my very first 360 game, and Sonic and Secret Rings was my very first Wii game. Both of those being just mine, is what I should say. As for Sonic Freeriders and Sonic Chronicles, yeah, I couldn't get into those. Those are, Sonic Freeriders at least is really broken. This is amazing. Why, thank you. You suck. Well, thank you. These two comments right here just kind of show the split of this video. Like, you could just look at these two and be like, okay, this is what we're in for. What annoys me about this video is that it's true, the hater hate with no real reason. By the way, love your video. Thank you. Yeah, especially back in that time, it seemed like it was just popular just to hate on Sonic. That's partially why I made this, because there were so many of, like, back in the day, the bigger YouTubers were the ones that, like, hated anything post-Genesis Sonic. So, it was popular to hate on Sonic. Even if you didn't really play any Sonic or you didn't really know anything about Sonic, it was just popular to hate on Sonic. The next person made a couple of comments. The first one saying, hashtag I hate modern Sonic, and the next one saying the classics are immortal. Alright, you got your own opinions. Now, I don't want anyone to get me wrong on all this, because I do really like the classic Sonic games. Maybe not as much as I used to, but I still enjoy playing them time to time. That said, if by immortal you mean perfect, no, they're not. Sonic 1 has a lot of flaws. Sonic 2 has some flaws. I used to like Sonic 1 more than Sonic 2, but now it's kind of reversed. My favorite is Sonic 3 and Knuckles, out of the trilogy or quadrilogy, however you look at it. But they all have flaws that people did not want to point out, but they would happily point out in the modern stuff. Also, Sonic CD I find just to be okay. But basically where I'm getting at is no Sonic game is perfect. No game in general is perfect. So, so accurate. Yeah, it's unfortunately very accurate. With someone replying with a frowny face. Okay. Yeah, there was unfortunately a lot of accuracy in my video. Like, some of it was just supposed to be over-exaggerated, but in all honesty, there's some of it that doesn't feel exaggerated. I also tried to put a little annoyance in my voice just to kind of drive the point home of these people can be really annoying. Creepypasta, I'm pretty sure they mean creepypasta.exe bitch hedgehog. Not quite sure how to respond to that. Sonic Generations and Sonic Colors were good-ass games. I mostly agree. Sonic Generations is quite an amazing game. It's of course not perfect. There are still some flaws, but it's in my top 10, possibly top 5 favorite Sonic games. As for Sonic Colors, I used to think it was a pretty good game, and when I played it a couple more times, I've come to the conclusion that it's just okay to me. But I absolutely respect your opinion on both games. That's so true, laughing face. And then the person who replied to another comment from earlier, please stop the modern Sonic hate. Well, yeah. Well, I won't repeat myself too much, but it's basically like what Hillbilly Stormtrooper said earlier, with so accurate. It was unfortunate that that time happened with all the, all the hate on modern Sonic. So, you know, okay, this one's a bit of a long one, so bear with me. In 2021, I think modern Sonic has gotten more love, although I think 2010 Sonic gets a little too much hate nowadays, at least on YouTube. But you'll still see places like G4 TV bash Sonic in this current year as if it were 2016. It's like that G4 TV 3D Sonic retrospective unironically followed this video's advice while adding some of their own problems. I haven't actually watched that video, but yeah. Yeah, I will say that modern Sonic has gotten more love in the past couple of years than it did in times like 2016. And as for Sonic getting a lot of hate in the 2010s, like the ones that came out in the 2010s, I respect people who like those games, but the only one I truly liked, the one I truly loved, was Sonic Generations. But that whole decade was kind of, it felt like a lot of wasted potential for Sonic. But I do respect your opinions for if you do like the 2010 Sonic games, like all of them. Like I said, Sonic Colors I thought was okay. Sonic Lost World, at least on Wii U, was very eh. The 3DS version was also kind of okay. The Boom games, I don't want to get too much into the Boom games, but I didn't like the 3DS games as much, and Boom Rise of Lyric, as broken as it is, I think it got a little too much hate there, but it was still not a very good game. Forces was obviously had a lot of potential and just felt very bare bones with the final product. Mania I felt was good, but it's overrated. And Team Sonic Racing was fine. As for the G4 TV thing, let's just sit back and appreciate the fact that they got themselves canceled. Not from cancel culture, but rather, actual bad ratings and people just didn't want to watch it. And, of course, the whole Frost thing being the big nail in the coffin, or the final straw, or whatever, however you want to look at it. But in all honesty, it did still, from the few things I did watch from the modern G4 TV, while they were still trying to be progressive, quote-unquote, they still felt like a bunch of older type gamers going rah rah rah, modern Sonic bad, Mario better than Sonic, and all that stuff. Still felt like they were behind on the times. Sonic Generations is a masterpiece, and modern Sonic goes on. Sonic is the best, and classics. I like that. Like I said earlier, I think none of these games are perfect, but I do really like them. Like, Sonic is very appealing to me, and I like this comment. While this was a pretty controversial video, I did mainly get positive feedback from it. Like, not a lot more likes, but more likes, and more positive comments, and, things like that. And I'm glad to see that, over time, people have realized that modern Sonic is not bad, overall. And now on to the final video of this trilogy of videos I have chosen. N64 versus PS1, Rayman 2 The Great Escape, N64, PS1, Limbless Showdown, Danny's Review Show. I feel like I didn't really have to read out the entire title, but, I was the one who made it, so why not? The reason I made this video is because I noticed, like, a lot of Rayman fans, especially of Rayman 2, will always consider the other versions better, but the PS1 version, like, either the weakest or the worst version of the game, because it cut some content and stuff. And I wanted to clarify, why I prefer the PS1 version, which there's others that prefer the PS1 version, but I explain why I prefer it by going over each level, comparing the PS1 and the N64 version, which I know the N64 version isn't considered the best one, but it's still considered like a lot better than the PS1 version, and it's kind of comparable to like the Dreamcast version and all that stuff. And also, I only had access to the N64 version at the time, as well as the PS1 version, of course. But I've always seen even some bigger name YouTubers, or quote unquote bigger name YouTubers, not like million subscriber YouTubers or anything like that, but they'll talk about how the PS1 version is the weakest one because it cut content, but they never explain what content they cut. and so that's kind of what I go over in this video. But at the end of the video, or near the end of the video, I explained that, like, I respect everyone's opinion. It's just that, I explained why I prefer the PS1 version. So let's move on to those comments, shall we? Starting with Chris Overholt, who had quite a field day with commenting on this video. Okay, so you're a PSX fanboy. Got it. The N64 version is objectively superior. If you want to argue that the Dreamcast and/or PS2 versions are better than N64, fine. But supporting a crippled demo version of the game above the original? Sorry, no. Alright, well, let's start with the top part first. You clearly didn't see my video. A couple of years later. All joking aside, I'm really not a PSX fanboy. I was years ago, but I'm not now. The N64 version being quote-unquote objectively superior, you didn't really know the definition of that word, did you? Because this is extremely subjective stuff. And of course he compared the, N64 version to Dreamcast and PS2, which yes, those are better in comparison to the N64. But calling the PS1 version a crippled demo version of the game, I don't know how much of the video he actually paid attention to. Someone replied, I always thought the PS1 and PS2 were the worst versions. The PS1 has a bunch of missing content and downscaling, while the PS2 has a bunch of padding and repetitive combat. I gotta say, that's one of the few times I've actually heard someone criticize the PS2 version of this game. A lot of people usually say it's the best one, but, but as for the PS1 comment, I respect your opinion, but you didn't really pay much attention to my video also, did you? That'll be a recurring theme here. The other Sarah in this reply section was more positive. I can handle your opinion. The PlayStation version of Rayman 2 is still a great port despite missing content. See? I like that. I agree with that. Now on to the other major comment that old Chris made. Huge parts of PSX version are cut out. Yeah, well, it drags on too much anyway. Translation, sour grapes. You chased a bad one outside. Your credibility as a game critic is shot to shit. Good going. Well, you just don't know what subjective opinions are, do you? Everything has to revolve around old Chris's opinions, don't they? I don't know the person. Also, your comment about my credibility as a game critic, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if this was the only review video of mine that you've watched. I'm not saying I'm some perfect game critic, by any means, but these types of videos did get my channel as far as it has in terms of subscribers and views, and I just stopped doing those review videos. Listening to his arguments, it sounds to me less like sour grapes and more like he doesn't like Rayman 2 that much and tends to want it to be over as soon as possible. That's still not really the case, but I can see that criticism. Like, I can see that point of view. I understand that. With a reply to that saying, more like a PlayStation fanboy who can't take the L. Boy, he really has some issues there. Did you have some pretty bad experience growing up with PlayStation fanboys or something, old Chris? You need someone to talk to, buddy? I have to assume you played the PS1 version first and might be influenced by nostalgia for it. Just a little bit. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, so it is true. I did play the PS1 version first, and yes, I do have some nostalgia for it. But you know what else I have nostalgia for? The DS version of this game, and the 3DS version of this game. I also have nostalgia for other games that I know that aren't very good or just straight up bad or whatever the case. This one, with or without nostalgia, I prefer over the other versions. The PS1 version has not only minigames cut out, but also huge chunks of levels. I get preferring the PS1 version because of nostalgia. But based on the facts that the Dreamcast, PC, and PS2 versions are the best ones to play, I also played the PS1 version first, but got the Dreamcast version a year later and enjoyed it way more. That's your opinion, and that's perfectly fine. Good for you. Nice video, thank you. I love the Dreamcast and PlayStation 1 versions of Rayman 2. I like that comment. And not just because they said my video was nice and that they also like the PlayStation 1 version of the game. Those are a couple of reasons, but it's still a nice comment. PSX fanboy, obviously. The N64 version is far superior to the PSX one, and anyone can see that real quick. Plus, cut content and worse graphics. Okay, one thing I will agree on. The PS1 graphics are not as good as the other versions, and that's fine. But as for the other stuff, I don't want to repeat myself just yet. Then me and Danny will respect your opinion on the PlayStation version of Rayman 2: The Great Escape. Thank you, Sarah. I agree with that. I respect his opinion. Or her opinion. I don't actually know. Okay, this is a super long one, so bear with me. For people who say the PS1 version is bad and N64 is superior only because it has more content, the PS1 version has the prototype of Rayman 2 included that, in my opinion, it surpasses any extra content the N64 version of the game has to offer. The N64 fanboys don't even mention it. I wonder why. Also, I think I like much more the Halls of Doors design on PS1 than in the rest of the versions. Also, grainy look PS1 style better than N64 blurry textures. Whew, sorry about some of the pauses there. So, I do like this comment. I really like this comment. And yes, it is partially because they prefer the PS1 version of the game, but also because of some of the stuff they point out, which is some of the stuff I tried to point out, or, you know, they always say, like, oh, it has more content and stuff like that, but of course no one ever mentions the prototype version of Rayman 2 you can unlock whenever you get 90% of everything, at least 90% of everything in the PS1 version of the game, which, you know, of course, that's all subjective. It's all subjective. That doesn't, you know, make or break the game for a lot of people. A lot of people must say, who cares? But still, even if this person said they like the other versions more, I respected their comment, and even if they found it the other way around about the textures of the N64 versus the PS1, you know, I still would have respected this right here, because they said this in kind of a more respectful way. It wasn't just because they prefer the PS1 version. Now this next one is a little bit longer, but I understand what they're saying. The English may not be their first language, or they kept making typos and they just didn't bother to fix them. Either way, it's fine, and I will read it and I will understand, you know, what you mean. Sorry, but what's up with the PS1 hate in the comments section? Maybe he likes PS1 more because it's more streamlined. Is that the word you use, streamlined, if not more linear, quicker to pick up and play for 30 minutes? Maybe that's why. By the way, I have played both versions, DC port to the 3DS and PS1 version, and they both have strengths and weaknesses. PS1 as a more quick fix of Rayman 2, like I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that word, truncated? Sorry, level and be done with it, and DC/N64 as a more exploratory version with bigger levels meant for people who want to sit down and have a nice long gaming session. That doesn't mean DC/N64 levels are tedious. This was my opinion. I got through it. I struggled a little bit, but I got through it. And I struggled because it was long, not because of the typos. I apologize. I have no clue how to speak that language, so I can't really say your name, but I most certainly respect this comment here and your opinions, because this is pretty well done right here. They were pointing out that the PS1 version does feel a little more streamlined and a little bit quicker for people who like more linear levels, whereas the other versions are more exploratory for people who would like to just sit down and you know, they might like to explore all these levels and do all this stuff. It's just, in my opinion, I like the more, you know, the way the PS1 version is, and I really like this comment right here. I do have an idea for a video talking about like how to fix Rayman 2 if they were to ever potentially remake the game, like, you know, how to get it to appeal to the people who played the PS1 version, N64, Dreamcast, PS2, and all that stuff. I grew up playing the N64 version, the green cartridge, LOL. While the graphics in the N64 version aren't as vibrant and clear as the PS1, I felt like it was still a good port, even though I felt like leaving at least a JPEG at the title was the least they could do. I did have the actual cartridge at one point. While I didn't play it for this review, I did actually have the green cartridge that this person's talking about, and it did kind of throw me off a little bit, but it at least made it stand out amongst some other types of N64 games. And as for the title screen card thing, yeah, they could have done a little better on the N64 version. I do like the PS1 versions better, but I mean that's my opinion. But the title screen didn't really matter all that much to me. The main thing for me was the gameplay. The PS1 version is unique because of the different final boss fight compared to all the others. That is true. The PS1 version is the only one with the unique final boss fight, or at least in the second part, I should say. And I do prefer it because it's not like the best boss fight or anything, but it's compared to the other ones, like the other second phase of the final boss fight, it just got tedious, and like the levels and the content that was cut out of the other ones, it just got a little tedious and stuff. So I prefer the PS1 versions. N64 version all the way, but the PS1 version is respectable. Well, I respect your opinion and this comment. See, if more of the naysayers were more like this comment, then I would have respected them more as well, but, a lot of them were more like, you suck, you're bad at reviewing because your opinion is that you like the PS1 version more. Yeah, a lot of the earlier comments were just like, oh, PSX fanboy, that's the only reason why he likes this version of the game, and all that stuff, and in all honesty, I wouldn't be a bit surprised. I'm not going to assume they were, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they were also, like fanboys of their systems, like N64 or Dreamcast or some other type of other system, and they basically hypocrisy is where I'm getting at. Like, you can have your own opinions on stuff, that's fine. Maybe I was a little bit harsh on the N64 version of this game, but that's my opinion, and don't act like mine has to align with yours for me to be correct. And I respect the opinions of everyone here. I mean, even the people who highly disagreed with me. The ones who disagree with me, you're objectively wrong. I'm kidding, of course. And that's it for all the videos where I'd read the comments because I was bored out of my mind and I couldn't think of anything to make, so I made this. Now, this was just a one-time thing. I don't plan on reading comments of all my videos or all the controversial videos I may make in the future, but if you would like for me to make a series where I answer random questions, like from social media or something, like I may ask, about this or about that, and or leave a poll or something like that, just let me know in the comments what you think. And thanks for watching this or just listening, whatever you decide to do. And subscribe if this is the first video you watched for my other types of videos. And once again, thanks for watching. Have yourself a good day.